Hey everybody, Crazy Cosmo here, back with episode 2 of Why Was It Cancelled? Today we're going to talk about Stargate Universe. But in order to do that, we have to start from the beginning. Allow me to explain. When Stargate, starring Kurt Russell and James Spader, was originally conceived, it was conceived as a trilogy. They got the first movie finished and, well, the other two just never materialized. However, years later, the writers found a way to reinvigorate the series by turning it into a television show, which they pitched to Showtime, and eventually it turned into Stargate SG-1 with Richard Dean Anderson as Colonel O'Neill. Now that show ran for 5 seasons on Showtime before it was cancelled, ultimately being purchased by the Sci-Fi Channel and brought back for another 5 seasons before being cancelled after 10 in 2007. However, years later, writers decided there were more stories to tell, because the introduction of Claudia Black, Beau Bridges, and Ben Browder gave them a whole new story to explore. So eventually, we saw the release of Stargate: The Ark of Truth and Stargate Continuum, both straight to DVD. These were both extremely successful for the company, leading them to believe that straight-to-DVD movies might be the wave of the future. Remember this, it's going to be important later. See, as I mentioned, since 2004, Stargate Atlantis had been running concurrently with Stargate SG-1, which meant they were competing for ratings. That's part of the reason why I believe SG-1 eventually had to go. Now, Stargate Atlantis started to get extremely expensive towards the end, which meant that once they realized straight-to-DVD movies might be the answer, I believe that was the beginning of the end for Stargate Atlantis. The final nail in the coffin, however, was when writers announced that they had a brand new series in mind, which was going to be a little bit darker, a little bit edgier, bring in a little bit more of a younger audience. And that show was Stargate Universe, with a very different storyline, a very different plot, and a much less hopeful atmosphere. Part of the reason why I believe SGU started off in a bad place is because a lot of fans were very upset at the cancellation of Stargate Atlantis, meaning that they boycotted Stargate Universe just out of principle. Number 2, the production values were a lot lower on Stargate Universe simply because everything was meant to be beaten down, so it didn't really have that Stargate feel. And well, after the first season's ratings just didn't really go where they wanted it to go, they scrapped all the ideas for having any DVD movies for Stargate Atlantis, putting all of their eggs in the basket of Stargate Universe, really making it big. Well, as the second season moved on, the production values went up, which meant the cost went up, and unfortunately, the ratings just never followed, which meant that after all of the cancellations and all of the eggs that had been placed into single baskets for all of the other Stargate franchises, this one just simply didn't do enough for them to continue on with the series, which essentially put the final nail in the coffin for Stargate on television. Crazy Cosmo, signing off.